Hey there everybody, and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy XIII. In the last episode, we beat the final boss of the game, Orphan. And now, after the ending scenes, you are prompted to save your game in a different slot. By doing so, the next time you load up your game, you'll be back in front of the final boss area in the Orphan's Cradle, the Narthrex. Alright, so after you do that, welcome to the post game. Alright, so let's start off talking about what the post game is. So, the post game is stuff that you can do, all the unfinished stuff left to do in the game after you beat the main story. Now, some people in most games, people like to do the post game stuff before beating the main story, because it just flows better that way. Well, in Final Fantasy XIII, you can't because of a few reasons. The main reason is because of the Crystarium Stage 10. Alright, so up until this point, we were stuck on Crystarium Stage 9 for a really long time. And in order to beat some of the optional bosses and Sea Stone missions found in the post-game, you need to have access to Crystarium Stage 10. So you get Crystarium Stage 10 by beating the final boss of the game, Orphan. After you beat Orphan and watch the ending scene, the game will prompt you to save your game in a new slot. By doing so, the next time you load your game, you'll be back right in front of the final boss battle in the Orphan's Cradle. Except now, you have your Crystarium unlocked to Stage 10. Alright, so now that your Crystarium has reached Stage 10, that is the maximum stage in the English version. Japanese gets Stage 11. But we have finally unlocked as far as we can go, which is Crystarium Stage 10. So now you can develop your characters to their full potential. Alright, so there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done in post-game. So I'm going to quickly sum it up very fast. We're not going to discuss everything in detail right now. For now, I'm just going to give you guys your options of what you can do in post-game. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is max out everyone's Crystarium at Stage 10. Now this goes for their primary roles and their secondary roles. Up until this point, their secondary roles was optional. We didn't really have to worry about that. But in the post game, if you want to be the strongest, you're going to have to upgrade your secondary roles just like you do your primary roles. Of course, you're going to want to upgrade your primary roles first. But then after you upgrade your primary roles, you need to upgrade your secondary roles. Now the thing about secondary roles is once you hit the top of the Crystarium, things start getting really lengthy. For example, you need 120,000 CP to go from crystal to crystal. And you may be thinking, how am I supposed to get 120,000 CP just to move one spot up on the Crystarium? Well, up until this point, and earlier in the game, we were farming the Adamantos, and you've seen that he dropped 40,000 CP per battle. Now, just getting 40,000 CP per battle is really going to take a long time if you're trying to max out everyone's Crystarium with their primary roles and secondary roles. So you're going to need like 10 million CP to max everything out, and 40,000 CP per battle ain't cutting it. So, which brings us to our next point. There's a thing in Final Fantasy XIII called the Growth Egg. Now what the Growth Egg does is it's an accessory that you can equip, and when you equip it to one of your characters in your current battle team, you will get double experience for each fight. So that makes things more reasonable. So the Adamantos is giving us 40,000 CP per fight. Once we find the Growth Egg and equip it, killing an Adamantos will give us 80,000 CP per fight. So all battles will give you double the amount of experience. It'll give you double the amount of CP. So our first objective in post-game is going to be to find and get the Growth Egg so that we can start working on gathering enough CP to max out our Crystarium Stage 10. Along with that, we need to get enough gil rounded up so that we can fully upgrade everyone's ultimate weapons as well as the best accessories in the game that will give us a huge boost in strength, magic, and defense. Alright, so if you've been following this walkthrough to the T, then you'll know that we already fully upgraded our ultimate weapons for our main party members. So at least that's out of the way. That's something that we don't have to worry about. Also, back on Grand Pulse, we completed Sea Stone missions 1 through 34. So that's half the missions out the way as well. Now that's why I advise you guys to do that, because if you're talking about the post game, if we didn't do as much as we did, such as completely upgrading our main battle team's weapons to their ultimate forms and completing Sea Stone missions 1 through 34, then you would just have even more stuff to do. And there's already a lot of stuff we got to do already. Alright, so now let me explain in order what we're going to do. First of all, we're going to spend our Crystarium that we saved up. And we're going to max out, or we're going to go as far as we can and get our character stronger. Once we're a little bit stronger, we're going to go get the growth egg back on Grand Pulse, so that we get double CP from here on out. Then we're going to continue the Adamantos farming so that we can max out our character's Crystarium, as well as get platinum ingots for each battle. Hopefully every other battle, however many platinum ingots we can get. So we're gonna, after we get the growth egg, we're gonna continue the Adamantos farming so that we can get not only experience but platinum ingots. Now you can sell platinum ingots for 150,000 gil. So that's by far the best way, if you're lucky and you can actually get them to drop a platinum ingot, the best way to get gil in the game. Meanwhile, it's the best way to get CP in the game. So once we get that growth egg, we're going to do some Adamantos farming and max out our character's Crystarium. After we've done that, we're going to sell all of our gil, or sell all of our platinum ingots that we've rounded up while getting our CP, so that we can have a lot of gil. Once we have a couple million gil, we're going to start upgrading the accessories. Once we have the accessories upgraded, we're going to complete the Sea Stone missions. Now, it's very important to take note that we're going to have to do a little bit of stuff before we get into the heavy Adamantos farming. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the growth egg. And then we need to complete a certain couple Sea Stone missions so that we can get these accessories called Ginji Gloves. Now what Genji Gloves do is they uncap the damage limit of 99,999. So if you may have noticed, if your characters are strong enough, we can only do a total of 99,999 damage right now. Well, getting a pair of Genji Gloves, which is an accessory that you can equip to characters, you can get a total of 3 of them in the game. 3 of them for your main battle team, and that's it. Okay, so once we get a Genji Glove and equip it, our damage we will be able to do more damage than 99,999, meaning we can go over the damage limit. So what Genji Gloves do is uncap the damage limit, and that's vital for killing Adamantoses normally. So earlier when we were doing our Adamantos farming, we were using Vanille's death spell, and it just mainly relied on luck for death to actually hit the Adamantos and kill it. Well, from now that we're in the post game, we need to get strong enough so that we can kill an Adamantos normally with regular attacks. So the things that we're going to need these things called Gaian rings, which increases your earth resistant damage. We're going to need Genji Gloves to uncap the damage limit that our characters can do. And we're going to need a fully maxed out Crystarium, as well as a couple other accessories. And also we're going to need the growth egg. Alright. And then after you take out all 60, after we've completely maxed out our character's Crystarium, we've got all the accessories that we need fully maxed out and upgraded. Then we're going to complete Sea Stone missions 34 through 64, because there's 64 Sea Stone missions in total. Now, the reason why I'm saying 34 through 64 is because we've already completed Sea Stone missions 1 through 34 during the course of the main story. So if you guys haven't completed Sea Stone missions 1 through 34, you can check back to the previous episodes, and I cover them in chronological order, missions 1 through 34. Alright, and so now all that's left to do is what I've mentioned before and complete Sea Stone missions 34 through 64. Now after you've completed missions 34 through 64, you can kill these things called long gooey turtles. Now these guys are by far the hardest things to kill in the game. They're the hardest enemies you can fight. So after we're completely strong enough and we've completed all of the Sea Stone missions, then we're going to take out the long gooey turtles. Alright, so now I've pretty much summed up everything that we're going to be doing, and it's actually a whole lot longer than what it sounds like. We're going to spend a good 20 hours or more doing this. So if you guys aren't hardcore gamers, then the post game really isn't for you. What the post game is for people that have beaten the game and want more. So if you've already beaten the game and you're done and you don't really feel like you want to play anymore, then I wouldn't suggest playing in post game, because post game consists of a lot of grinding. You're going to be fighting the same enemy over and over and over and over to, you know, get maximum CP, spend it all, then get maximum CP again, spend it all over and over, and then get platinum, get sell them, get more platinum, get sell them, until you got a crap load of guild. Then it's nothing but upgrading. But after you do that all, it will get a little bit funner, because we can do Sea Stone missions 34 through 64, which is really fun. Now, one last thing to take note of before we continue on. Up until this point, back on Grand Pulse, if you've been following this guide, you know that I've completed the Sea Stones in the right order. Meaning I started off in mission 1, then I did mission 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 34 in the right order. Well, for now that we're in the post game, there's a couple missions that we have to do. We have to skip ahead and do a couple missions so that we can get the right accessories to really get things moving. For example, mission 55 will get you the growth egg. And then certain missions in the 60s will get you Genji Gloves. So you got to complete 3 missions in order to get all 3 pairs of Genji Gloves. Once we've done that, then we can work on completing the Sea Stone missions in the right order again. Alright, so now that I've pretty much covered everything that we should talk about right now, let's get down to business. Alright, so hopefully you guys have about 900,000 CP to spend with all characters. So now let's talk about the Crystarium. The first thing we need to do is get a little bit stronger by expanding our Crystarium and maxing out our character's primary roles. So let's start off with Lightning. So after beating the final boss of the game, Orphan, you'll unlock Crystarium Stage 10. Your characters can now develop further. Alright, so you may be wondering, in which way should I start upgrading first? Well, now that you can reach Crystarium Stage 10, the first thing we're going to want to do is get the final accessory node. This will allow you to equip 4 accessories now, and it's the final accessory you can unlock. So generally, you're going to want to unlock you want to head in the direction on the Crystarium to unlock your accessory role, or your 4th accessory. So that's what we're going to be doing first. We're going to head in the direction of the accessory, so we can unlock it, and all of our characters can wear 4 accessories. Now this is really important. So we're going to start off with Lightning. Her 4th accessory crystal can be found under the commando role. So let's go ahead and advance her down her commando role. Now another thing to take note of is once you hit the top of the Crystarium, which is stage 10, you'll see that the HP and strength strength crystals increase your HP and strength a lot more than what they did before. This is going to allow you to get significantly stronger a lot faster. So up until this point, we were only getting like HP plus 150, HP plus 180. Well, up in the Crystarium Stage 10 part, you get HP plus 250, strength plus 40, and so on and so forth. So this will allow you to get a lot more HP and a lot more strength a lot faster, but at a cost. As you can see up at Crystarium Stage 10, the CP cost is 30,000. And then once you get to the other side, it's 60,000. Now for the secondary roles, the CP cost can get up to 120,000 to move one node. Alright, so this means that we're going to increase each role little by little. So we're going to go as far as we can with the CP cost at 30,000. So as you can see in Lightning's commando role, everything before the accessory crystal costs 30,000. And then everything after the accessory crystal costs 60,000. So what we're going to do is we're going to increase each role little by little. We're going to get all of the 30,000 CP cost crystals first. And then once we get all the 30,000 CP cost crystals, we're going to move on and do the 60,000. Alright, so let me quickly show you because you might be confused on how I said it. Alright, so let's start off with Lightning. We're going to develop her first down her commando role so she can learn her 4th accessory. So let's do that now. Alright, so Lightning has learned her 4th accessory. Now everything past this point on the Crystarium for her commando role, if you look at the bottom right, it'll say CP cost 60,000. So as you can see, the stuff on the right is only 30,000. So we're going to leave all of the 60,000 CP cost crystals for later. Instead, let's move on to her Ravager role. Alright, so let's go ahead and spend our CP where it's the 30,000 crystal, 30,000 CP cost. So pretty much we're going halfway through each role. Alright, so from here on, everything costs 60,000 CP. So let's go ahead and leave that for now. Moving on to her medic role. Alright, so as you can see, we're going halfway through each primary role. This way, you'll be able to get more stat increases than what you would if you were to fully max out a role. So we're getting more for less. Now once we've taken care of all of the CP crystals that cost 30,000, the only thing left is to get the CP crystals that cost 60,000. Now before we do that, it's really important to take note for Lightning. Once you progress her far enough down her synergist role, she can learn the spell Vigilance and also Haste. So haste is really important. Now Fang already knows haste, so we don't really have to worry about that right now. However, I would highly suggest to max out your primary roles first. Now if you're not using Fang in your party and you're using Lightning, then I would suggest to spend the rest of your CP as far along as in her synergist role as you can so that she can learn haste. Because you're going to want someone who's in your battle team to learn haste, because that's very important for post game. If you're using Fang and she already knows haste, then you don't have to jump straight into her synergist role just yet. Instead, we're going to spend the rest of our CP, because Fang already knows haste, starting to progress our characters further down their primary roles. So we've got all the crystals that cost 30,000 for all of Lightning's primary roles. Now we're going to work on the other side of their primary roles, which is where the CP starts costing 60,000. So let's start off on her commando role. Alright, so that's all we can do at this point. Now let's move on to Vanille. Now Vanille's fourth accessory crystal can be found under her Ravager role. So let's go there first. Alright, once Vanille has learned her fourth accessory ability, let's move on to her Saboteur role. Alright, so we've progressed her far enough down her Saboteur role to get all of the crystals that cost 30,000 CP apiece. Everything beyond this point costs 60,000, so we're going to leave that for later. Instead, let's move on to her Medic role. Alright, so now we've purchased all of the Crystarium crystals for 30,000 CP. So now all that's left is to go ahead and progress her far enough down her Alright, so for Vanille we're going to work on something different. So as you can see underneath her Synergist role, once you make it to the top, she can learn Bravera and also Faithra. Now this will really come in handy whenever you're buffing your characters up. So you're going to want to progress her down her Synergist role as fast as possible and as soon as possible. But first we need to finish upgrading our characters' primary roles. As long as you have all your characters' secondary roles at least at level 2, then you're right where you need to be. So from here on, we're just going to max out our characters' primary roles first, just like we've been doing the whole game. Once all of our characters' primary roles are fully maxed out, then we're going to work on the characters' secondary roles to receive the best benefits. Alright, so let's go ahead and finish up Vanille's CP. Let's go ahead and progress her down her Ravager role as far as we can. Alright, so that's as far as we can go for now. Now let's move on to Fang. So Fang's fourth accessory can be found under her Commando role. So let's head in that direction first. Alright, once you've learned Fang's fourth accessory crystal, you'll see that everything on the right starts costing 60,000 CP. So let's leave this for later. Instead, move on to her Sentinel role. Alright, so halfway through her Sentinel role, we've got everything that costs 30,000 CP. Everything else costs 60,000. So let's move on to her Saboteur role. Alright, so that's everything we can do for now. So for Fang's primary roles, we have got all the CP crystals that cost 30,000. Now let's move on to the CP crystals that cost 60,000. So we're going to start off in her commando role. Alright, and that's all we can do for now. Now let's move on to our secondary characters. Let's start off with Saz. Saz's fourth accessory can be found underneath his Ravager role. So let's go there first. Once you've got his fourth accessory crystal, now let's work on his other primary roles. Now let's work on his synergist role. Alright, so now we've purchased all of the 30,000 CP cost crystal and Saz's primary roles. So now let's go ahead and finish up his CP. And that's all we can do for Saz for now. So as you can see, if you look at the CP, or if you look at the HP and strength increases from the characters we've developed since we've unlocked this Crystarium Stage 10 compared to the people that we haven't spent their CP yet, you'll see the significantly big difference in HP. So Lightning has 15,000 HP, Vanille has 14,000 HP, Fang has 16,000 HP, and Saz has 18,000 HP. Now if you look over at Hope, he only has 6,930 HP, and Snow only has 11,000 HP. Now, you can start to see how much of a difference the Crystarium Stage 10 makes on developing your character stronger. So as you can see, they're almost double what Hope and Snow's is, because we haven't used any of the CP that we've gathered yet on Crystarium Stage 10 with Hope and Snow. So you can see how much of a boost the Crystarium Stage 10 gives your characters, and we've only spent a little bit of CP. Like, we're still so far away from maxing out the Crystarium. So that's why Crystarium Stage 10 is vital in taking care of the post-game enemies. Alright, I just wanted to compare the stats to show you guys. Now let's move on to Hope. Hope's fourth accessory can be found under his Ravager role. So let's go that way first. So remember, Hope's HP was only 6,090. Alright, so Hope can now equip 4 accessories. Let's move on to his synergist role. Alright. And finally, let's go to his medic role. Alright, so we've got all of the 30,000 CP cost crystals for Hope's primary roles. So you can see how I'm going about this. I'm going halfway through each character's primary roles. By doing this, you're getting more crystals activated for less CP, because everything on the other side of their roles costs 60,000. So that's double the CP you're spending getting these 30,000 CP crystals. And you're getting more than what you would if you filled out one character's role completely right off the bat. Now the only bad thing that we're losing about doing this is we're not getting the final role level. But that's really nothing compared to the stats that are increasing. Alright, so let's go ahead and continue spinning up Hope's CP. Let's go back to his Ravager role now. And that's all we can do for now. So as you can see, Hope's HP went from 6,900 to 12,060. It almost doubled. And we're still a long ways off from completing his Crystarium. So that's how important the Crystarium Stage 10 is. Finally, let's work on Snow. Snow's fourth accessory can be found under his Commando role. So let's head that way first. Alright, so now Snow can wear 4 accessories. Now let's move on to his Ravager role. And finally, his Sentinel role. Alright, so that's all we can do for Snow. And yeah, so we spent all of our CP. As you can see, our characters have a lot more HP. And that is the effect of the Stage 10 Crystarium. The CP cost might be massive, but you're getting a whole lot more than what we did before at the Crystarium Stage 9. Our stats are improving significantly. Our characters are twice as strong now as what they were, and we've only spent 1 million CP with each character. Alright, so now that I've talked about what we're going to be doing in the post-game, and what the post-game is exactly and what it's about, and now that we have spent our CP that we've had saved up to this point, and developing our characters further down the Crystarium Stage 10 now that it has expanded from Stage 9 to Stage 10, that's going to conclude this episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy XIII. So I'll see you guys next time on the next episode, wherever we go and get the growth egg back on Grand Pulse, which means we're going to have to backtrack through Orphan's Cradle so that we can get to the warp gate that leads to Grand Pulse. Once on Grand Pulse, we're going to immediately start Seastone Mission 55 so that we can get the growth egg, so that we can start getting double the amount of CP after each battle. Alright, so that's going to conclude this episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy XIII. I'll see you guys next time, where we head back to Grand Pulse and complete Seastone Mission 55 to get the growth egg for double CP.